Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby P. Kinzer.
And I'm Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Yes, here we are today, this wonderful day in the year 2024. This is June the 6th, and just like to welcome everybody around the United States and around the world. Hello to all my friends over there in Bonnie, England. Thank you for joining us. It's so good. It's late in the morning. It's 5-hour difference ahead. So we thank for all of y'all who are on. We appreciate that. Last week's show was how aggressive is your investment plan? And we wasn't trying to tell anybody what to do. We were just trying to have people to think about where they are and what they might want to do, because we found out there are a lot of people that weren't aggressive at all, and they were missing out on a lot of returns and a lot of ways to build their wealth passively without having to be working, hard labor, just using passive income. Then we found out there were people that were overly aggressive, and you don't want to go too far there, but it's your choice. At the end of the day, your risk tolerance, your goals, your horizons, you determine what you are able to sleep. We are just trying to provide you with financial information. We are not fiduciaries. We're not licensed financial advisors. We are financial educators. So we will not be trying to sell no products. You might hear us mention products, but only as, for you to have to, if we're trying to reference some things, or when we talk about the stock market, we talk about those portfolios, but we're not encourage you one way or another on what products to buy. But we will talk about, as far as generically, should it be equity? Should it be bonds? Should it be money market? Should it be treasury notes? Should it be gold? We will talk things like that. But specific, we're not trying to sell no products. So we're not biased, so we're not going to be really trying to do that. So one of the things I want to always let you know that we like to make this show interactive, and how we do that is by you all placing comments in the comments box. If there's anything we talked about that you have a personal comment about, please feel assured that we will address it, and everything's open. Even if you have another subject you want to talk about, please enter it in the comment box and we'll address it if it's appropriate. The other thing is we want to make sure that you click on the like button and the heart button, because those are how you get more traction to other people, more exposure, how Facebook works. So we really appreciate if you just do those. So enough of that administrative things. But this week we want to talk about mid-year checkup. Mid-year checkup, because we always at 2 points in the year. We talk about the mid-year checkup. We always talk about an annual checkup at the end of the year, because no sense waiting for the end of the year to be looking at your situation. So we're going to talk about some of the things you need to be aware of for your mid-year checkup. Just like you take your car in for servicing, right? You need to be doing the same thing. So, Dope, how's everything in your world today? You on mute there, brother man.
I'm off?
Now you off.
Okay. Oh, my world is great, Bob. I am happy to be here. Feeling blessed.
I wonder why you're so happy.
I'm always happy. Don't say that.
Yeah, you a little bit happy actually today. Stop that dang foolishness. So why don't we just go right there? Stop messing around, Dope. Let's talk about one of the reasons why you might be happy today. What's happening with the stock market? Let's start there.
The market's doing okay. Things are okay. It's still going to be volatile because it's still looking for direction. But I mean, the NASDAQ is at an all-time high. The Dow is doing pretty well. As you can see, it's Dow's up a bunch, almost 5%. Again, this is all interest rate earnings driven. The NASDAQ's up 2.6%, and some of the stock holdings that I like have done really well this week. Microsoft up 10, Tesla's down 1, Apple's up 4, Pfizer's up 1, and Google's up 4. So, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot NVIDIA.
Your favorite.
NVIDIA's up 105.
That's just from last week to today.
It's from week to week. I got into the stock at 177, so I've done okay on this one. It's actually going to split today. It's going to split 10 for 1. So I have 100 shares, and that goes to 1,000 shares. But obviously, the value decreases.
No, the value does not decrease.
The value does. The value of the stock decreases. It goes from 1210.
Oh, I'm sorry, but not the money you have in there. That's
so total value doesn't, but the value of the stock goes from 1210 to 121.
Yes,
just divided by 10. Right. So that'll be effective Monday. So Monday you'll see it. If you look up the sticker for NVIDIA, you'll see it selling for around 121. Now the thing is, this stock has grown. I mean, it's just crazy. It's I can't explain it. When I bought it, I thought it was a good stock. Did I expect it to go up 10 times? Honestly, there is no way I expected it to do this well. And, sometimes even a blind squirrel found a nut. And that's the good thing. And that's what I found. I found one that's tremendous. If you look at it's just 2 years, what it's done in 2 years, it's up. In 2 years, it's up 1,000 points. Okay. In 2 years, that's just crazy. In 1 year, it's up 835 points. So most of that has been in the past year. It's just been going like gangbusters. It's the dominant chip maker for the AI chips, and everybody's buying from them. I think Elon Musk announced that Tesla is going to buy a bunch of chips from them, and that's what caused some of this increase, in addition to their earnings blowing away what was anticipated, which I find surprising because that's the second time this has happened. And when I worked for PPG, we had to give pretty good guidance as to what our earnings would be, because you never want to surprise the market favorably or unfavorably. But they've totally surprised the market the last 2 or 3 times they've announced earnings. So you would think at some point they're going to get it right. The valuations, the valuations that brokerage firms are putting on them are still going up. So I have no idea how high this is going to go. And this is one of the issues that I've told you about, is that you have to figure out when to sell. Bob always calls it an exit strategy. And mine personally, until I have something else I want to buy with that money that I get from selling that stock, that's when I'll sell it. When I think there's something that will do better than it's doing, I will sell it at that point. But not looking at selling right now. Do I expect it to keep going up? I hope it does. I'm not really sure at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if it had a big drop. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't want to deal with the capital gains right now. And again, I don't have any place to put the money. So me and Bob were talking before we started the show, and I will probably, within the next couple of weeks, probably sell a few hundred shares, 300-400 shares, just to recognize some of the gain and take some of the money off the table. But again, I don't see anything else to buy. And the interesting thing, which is really crazy, the S&P 500, that's the 500 biggest stocks, right? Biggest companies. Well, 20% of the S&P 500 is 3 stocks. And, you think back to the big 3 automakers, I don't think they had 20% of the total S&P. So between Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Apple, their market capitalization is about $9 trillion. And the total market cap of the S&P 500 is only 44 trillion. So they're about 20%. Those 3 companies are 20% of the S&P 500. So that's another reason it's making me think at some point I got to start selling the Microsoft and the NVIDIA. And I've recognized big gains on both of those. Not really interested in taking the gains right now. And I don't really see any companies that I'd rather be invested in than those three at this point. But the fact that they're so big and unwieldy is giving me cause for concern. But the market is still on shaky ground. There's a job reports that come out tomorrow. If it's not positive, you're gonna see a huge drop in the specifically the NASDAQ, because it's more interest rate sensitive than the Dow. So all in all, things are going okay. I'm pretty happy, and hope it ain't temporary.
Well, Doug, I just want to touch on a few things. First of all, I want to make a note that in 2008, when Obama went into office, is that right? Yeah, 2008, the NASDAQ was at 6,000.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, right?
Yeah, I just want to remind people for who people might not have been on the show.
Yeah,
but it's now at 17,000. Just to give you just a reference point of being in the market just in that little bit of time. And then the other thing, I just want to say that everybody's got different strategies, and I suggest you have a strategy if you're dealing with stocks, entry and exit strategy, which we talked about. But and there's no right or wrong thing. Like one strategy is, just take out, if your stocks is good gain of capital appreciation, to just take out what you put in and just leave the rest to ride, and you just now playing with house money.
That's your strategy.
Yeah, no, that actually is my strategy. but no, that's not fully. I do a little bit of both though. That's not fully, because and that's why I didn't want to say it's mine or not, because I've done both. The other strategy, which I've done too though, is this is another, and they're saying there's no one special strategy better than the other, but this is the other strategy, that I use, if I don't need it, if everything else is, well balanced and I got everything, good asset mix, I got emergency fund, I got liquid assets, I got, some commodities, I got it well balanced. I leave it there, because if you take it out, what are you going to do with it? You gotta have to put it somewhere. Now, some people say, well, I'm just going to put it in a savings account. Okay, that's cool. But while leaving a savings account and getting 1%, less than 1%, well, and that's another strategy. If you need it, then take it out. If I don't need it, I just let it in and let it ride, because this is not money I'm planning on using to pay my mortgage, to pay my daughter's education. I have that already set. So that's why I can have that strategy to leave it there. And so there's different strategies. Just want to say no right or wrong, but you should have a strategy, whatever it is.
And Bob, and again, that it's so important to understand. You think how many variables are in your life. Like Bob mentioned a couple, whether you need the money, whether you're going to need it soon, whether you feel comfortable having it invested, the tax implications, the long-term use of that money. There's a zillion different reasons of why you may leave it in or you may take it out. And that's what we've been trying to get at, is how complicated this whole building wealth scenario is, because there's so many different variables that affect you in trying to build wealth. And we don't try to make it complicated or overcomplicated, but it is complicated. The more money you get, the more difficult it becomes to manage all the different tentacles of building wealth, whether it's taxes, when to sell, when to buy, your allocation, your diversification. It's not simple. Building wealth isn't easy. That if anything, we need you to understand that building wealth is not easy.
But it becomes easier if you have knowledge and you have a plan. It just never goes away where it's just going to work itself. No question about that. You're going to have to put effort in it, no question. But the more you know, and the more you have a plan that you stick to, yes, it does become easier to manage. And I just want the people to know, me and Dote always talk about, being in the market because, passive income, that's what this is. It's working for it. It's different than compensation. Compensation is something that you have to work for. You got to go to work.
Hey, Bob,
Income, you don't have to do nothing but sit there.
and it's so funny because one of the regrets I've talked about, and it's not truly a regret. It's something when I look back on, I wish I had done, but I didn't. So it's not really a regret, but it's just something I would seriously consider if I could do it over. And that is having a business, because I heard it described as when you work for somebody, they pay you and they take taxes out, and then you have what's left. But if you have a business, you do everything you want to do, and then you pay taxes on whatever you have left. And when you think about it like that, that's pretty much the truth. So that's one thing I would do different. And Bob, what I was talking before we started, that's one of the things I may look into doing now is actually starting a business just to find a way, not obviously not to just minimize taxes. That's not the reason you start a business. You start a business to make money, but also it's such a help when it comes to minimizing taxes. And so that's just one of the things going through my mind.
Yes, so let's get into the other market, though, the cryptocurrency market. As a total, the cryptocurrency market cap only went up about 90 billion, 3%. But Bitcoin, the number one cryptocurrency, is up from last week to this week, $2,414. It's up to $70,786 a Bitcoin. Though, when did you get in? What was it when you first got in at Bitcoin?
I want to say around 30, 20 to 30, somewhere in that range. This was a couple of years ago.
Right. And that's the same with me. But I got in at 19, and then I came back in with some more money at 29.
Yeah, I just know I put about 5 in, and it's worth about 20 now.
Yeah,
I got Bitcoin and Ethereum. I got those too.
Yeah, I put 3 in, and it's worth what, 10? That's right. Yeah. So, yeah. So that's the thing about the crypto. But and like, it's all about diversification. You all, if you got the money to be able to try, like those say, none of us know market gurus or great financial to know. We can look at I can do fundamental analysis and look at things, but there's still no guarantee, right?
Right.
But the thing is, do the best you can, and then just put some money in there, and you just never know. That's why not to have all your eggs in one basket. But Ethereum is now up at $3,800. That went up $56. That's 15% increase. Tether, what they call stable coin, that is actually supposedly backed by $1. Each tether is backed by $1. And when I say supposedly, because they say some of it is backed by dollars and some of it is backed by other assets, but that is totally different than all the other cryptocurrency. That's what makes that a stable coin, and it doesn't move as much. As you can see, it's at $1. Now it's down 1 cent. I mean, less than 1 cent. Then you got Solana, which is at number 5, still number 5. It's up 2%. It's been going up slowly. And then the Dogecoin, that's Musk, and I don't know if the guy for the Dallas Mavericks,
Cuban.
Matter of fact, did you know he sold the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah, but he kept controlling. He's still the boss.
Yeah, that's it.
He sold the controlling interest, but he's still in charge. That was part of it.
Well, he's at every game. He's there. So that's it for the cryptocurrency market.
Hey, Bob, one thing I forgot to mention was that Roth Gold fund I bought. I put about 15 grand into that, 7,500 for
Oh
myself
yeah.
and my spouse. It actually went down last week. It was up over $8,000. It got up to like high as 8,300. Well, now it's down to 7,900. And it's still up 5% in less than 2 months. So I'm still happy with that, even though it is down slightly. And as Bob was saying about diversifying, so I put some money in there, got some money in Bitcoin. It's just hoping if anything crazy happens, I'll be able to take advantage of it. And it's not enough where if I lose it, I'll be, have to sell my house or live on the streets or anything. But it's just something to be diversified and spread some money around.
Well, we got a question from Motor Steam though, and she said, "Is it worth it to have mortgage insurance?"
Is that PMI, private mortgage insurance?
Yeah, or is it just straight?
Oh, mortgage insurance. If you die, they pay off your mortgage. Is that what she's talking about?
Don't know. She just said put in there to qualify.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what she's referring to. And again, I would say just shop around, because all that is a term insurance policy.
Right.
Okay. But a lot of times they package it.
You said yes.
Huh? Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of times they package it and the mortgage company is playing the middleman. So they're making money on the deal because all they're doing is going out and getting you an insurance policy. So what you should do, if you feel you need to have that insurance, is go out and buy a term policy equal to your mortgage balance. And the ones that the mortgage companies sell, they typically decline with the value of the mortgage. So as your mortgage value goes down, your amount of insurance goes down, which is, to me, is kind of hokey. And so I've always liked to keep the middleman out of any transaction that I can. So if you can go out and find a term insurance policy, it serves the same purpose as mortgage insurance. And the other thing is get insurance if you need to have it, if somebody needs to have money when you die. Now, my son-in-law have discussions about this, and that's one of the ways that a lot of rich people build wealth in their families, is by buying large insurance policies. And when something happens to them, that's a hunk of money that their heirs get, which I don't know the exact tax implications, but I don't think it's subject to estate taxes. It might be subject to, again, I don't even want to speak. Let's forget about the taxes for a minute, but it's a good way to generate wealth for your heirs. And so I've never believed in it. When my kids were younger, I bought a big term insurance policy for like 20 years. And it was covering, if something happened to me before they finished college, they would have enough money between the insurance I had at my job and insurance I bought on the side to cover the fact that I'm not there. And I also had insurance on my spouse, because if something happened to her, I would need money to make sure I had somebody to take care of the kids. So I believe if you have a need for insurance, then you go buy insurance. But that's in contrast to what my son-in-law feels as a good way to build wealth. And I'm not saying that that's not good, because it is a legitimate way to do it, especially if you buy the policies when they're young, because insurance is relatively cheap at that point. So
and the wealthy people, they're not buying term insurance. They're buying universal life insurance that has cash values, and those cash values are exempt from certain tax implications. Though that's a fact.
They buy term also, because
they do buy term. But what I'm finding out, most of them are buying universal life that has cash value, because the cash values are tax-free under certain circumstances. And I definitely know they tax-free if you use them towards education. I know that for a fact. I just read that. But
again, another reason I never like those policies, again, because it's packaging two products. It's packaging an investment item and insurance.
Right.
I like to keep those separate so I can really gauge how much is the insurance costing me, and what is my investment portfolio doing? That's just a personal preference of mine.
Right, but they're just like every other tool we talk about, every other instrument, it has its place, and it depends on what your financial goals is. Because, like I said, and the only thing about term insurance you got to watch out though, because if you're older, the older you are, the higher term insurance become, and then term insurance actually phase out. Also, that's the only thing about term insurance; it phases out too.
What you mean phases out? No, it's usually for a specified term.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, but it's not.
It ends at that term, right?
Right. That's what I mean. Phase that has a term. That's why it's term. But life insurance doesn't. It goes on until it can go on until you like 80, 90 years old. And then some of those phase out. But I'm just saying term does have a limit. They don't go past like 40, 50 years. I've seen.
No, you can buy a term policy for any period you choose, but it's just for that term.
Oh, no, I guarantee you will not find no term insurance for 50 years. I guarantee you. I've had a license, and unless they create a new product, we never had that because it's term. And I know it's a specific time, but that's the point of it because they expecting for your butt to get old and die.
Yeah, that's the thing. You could probably get that when you're younger, but the thing is, Bob, term insurance is really, really cheap.
Yes.
Universal policy, which is again is in term, and it's basically insurance and an investment portfolio. It's going to be a little more expensive. Yes. And so, this is again my personal preference. I was looking at I need insurance and I want to be covered for a specified amount of time. And I talked to an agent and he was, but you got this investment thing and it guarantees you to at least 4% a year. But I've always felt that I could do better than they can do.
Right.
And I don't want to pay them to manage my money at that point. And that's what I thought when I was younger.
But
so it depends on your own personal situation and what you need. Modestine, if you feel that would make you feel better having a mortgage insurance, just all I'm saying is look around, find a term policy that meets the criteria you're looking for, and I guarantee you it will be cheaper than what your mortgage company is offering or what anybody else who's offering something called mortgage insurance.
And though only because I just looked at these, the only thing about that is when you're in your 60s looking for term insurance, yes, it's cheaper than universal life and whole life. But let me give you an idea. I just got something in the mail. For me to get they were talking about $50,000 term insurance. At my age, they were going to charge $200 a month. To me, I don't think it's worth it.
But the point, and I would ask you, what would you need insurance for at your age?
That's the other thing, though.
That's the point.
Well, some people want to cover their mortgage. Most people want to cover their mortgage. So if you got a lot of people got big mortgages because they refinanced in 2008. They got $500,000 mortgages, and they just want their mortgage paid off. But I find most people.
But see, and that's where I'm having a problem understanding, because unless you plan on leaving that to somebody, you're gonna be dead. So what do you care if your mortgage is paid? Now,
well, see, you're so cold-blooded sometimes.
I'm black and white. I mean, I'm black and white.
You're cold-blooded too, man.
But like if my kids were to tell me, I got a very small mortgage on my house. If my kids would say, Dad, make sure your house is paid off if something happened to you. And I would say, sure, give me the money to go buy an insurance policy. And I'm not worried about it if something happens as far as if I just died and my spouse, she would have more than enough. If she wanted to pay off the mortgage, she could. So if you think about what you need the insurance for.
That's the key. That's the key.
Yeah, but yeah.
And yeah, though, I mean, really, and that's why I found some people that had insurance, term insurance, paying big money, and they also had insurance from their job that was really cheap because it was group insurance. So if you got group insurance, that's always going to be cheaper because it's group and from your job.
But that's something you got to watch out, and that's why I went and got a bigger policy outside, because if you lose your job, that group insurance it doesn't go away. Under COBRA, you can still keep it, but the rates would be crazy. It would be because you're getting a cheaper rate because your company has negotiated a good deal. But if you were to go out, if they fire you and then you go out and buy that, first of all, you don't have a job. So how are you going to pay for it? So make sure you're covered, not just with on your job, but you got something on the side if you feel you need insurance.
And we have a lot of people from the FDIC on here that are retired. And I just want to tell y'all something, because I actually use the actuaries, and I'm the one who reported the post-retirement costs for the FDIC. And a lot of you FDIC people don't know this. So, though, at the FDIC, they gave you 1 times your salary.
Is that all?
Yeah, but we make it 25% more than most people.
You got 5 times, huh?
No, you can get 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, 1 was free. Okay, what you're saying? 1 was free.
The standard was 1, right?
Yeah, 1 was free. That was free.
Well, you're still paying. We were paying pennies on it. It wasn't that free.
We got 1 free, and you could buy 4 more. So I had 5.
No, ours was 1 free. You could buy more, but most people just did 1 times their salary, right? But what people don't know, and I want to share this with you all, is under the retirement plan that FDIC has, when you hit 65, so they say you were making $150,000 at FDIC, so that means you got $150,000 worth of insurance, life insurance. But when you hit 65, you all, and go read it, it drops down to $25,000. And a lot of people don't know that, though, at the FDIC. I just want to share that with y'all.
And one more point about take advantage of that cheap group insurance at your job.
Yes.
And not so much just for the life insurance, but everything I've read said if you're between the ages of like 25 and 50, you're more likely to get disabled than you are to die. So that's another thing. Most companies offer disability insurance, and there's usually a cost to that. But look into it. I personally think it's a good value.
Yeah, me too. And I know we got on that insurance tip. And Modestine said whole life. Modestine, the difference between whole life and universal life. Whole life is the old traditional insurance, which is usually guarantees you just 4% cash values. It has cash values, but it gives you 4%. That's it. Where universal life, like Doe said, is tied to the stock market, and they try to give you a little bit more, 8, 10, 12, whatever they cap it at, depends on the insurance. But that's the difference between universal life and whole life. Whole life is traditional and standard. The guarantee is 4% cash values. All right, Dope. So let's get into today's subject, man. Mid-year, and actually, this is sort of like a mid-year check we just went through with insurance.
It's a good lead-in, and checking your financial plan in the middle of the year is crucial. It's a great time for you to reflect on your progress, see how you're doing, see what progress you've made, and to really see if you're accomplishing the goals that you set. Hopefully that you set. It's a great time to check your credit reports, review, revisit all your goals and see if you're on the right path. Now, this is part of the whole process. And we always talk about building wealth and safeguarding and things of that sort. But this is assuming you sat down, you developed a plan, you got a budget, you understand your risk tolerance, you're investing. And that's all well and good, but there are points in time during the year where you need to take a step back, look at everything, see how you're spending, see if you can lower any of your bills, if you can renegotiate any of your bills. If everything you're trying to do is on track, it's a good time to check that. This is a good step along the way to make sure you're doing what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's so important. This checkup is so important because, I'm sorry, I had to step out and get some water, because without regular attention and ongoing maintenance, financial plans tend to be forgotten or simply fall apart. Now, reviewing the plan you made 6 months ago not only allows you to reflect on the progress you've made, it's an organizational opportunity to ensure you stay on track by adjusting your savings, budgeting, and spending as needed before it's too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Hopefully, you've gone through the process of setting up your goals. And we always talked about building wealth. It's not easy. It takes you discipline. it takes a vision of where you want to end up, and it takes that discipline to stick to the goals you set. So you set financial goals, you develop a budget at the beginning of the year, and that helps you focus on what you're trying to achieve. Hopefully you got some money in there to enjoy yourself, so you aren't just working and paying events. But things happen throughout the year. You might have a job change, you might have a child, some economic things may change that might change your tax situation. Maybe you bought NVIDIA, you got to worry about paying a capital gains tax. But all kind of things can happen that might require some attention that changes how things are going in your current year. So when you check it mid-year, you can reflect on the progress you made. You can see if you have a need to make any changes, to make any improvements, to ensure that at the end of the year, you've accomplished what you have planned to accomplish, everything under your control. Again, some things are going to happen outside of your control, but the things that you control, you want to make sure that they're all going like you want them to go. If you're saving, you want to make sure you're saving how much money you need to save. If your expenses, you're looking at your budget, seeing if you're overspending, if you need to review, all those kind of things you want to do at the mid-year to make sure things are going to go right for you the rest of that year.
So, to make sure I'm on track, I want to talk about rethinking your budget.
Yep.
Yeah. So, so your budget should be a top priority for any financial checkup. And me and Doug always talk about it, but it's 'cause a lot of people don't tend to write it down, or if they write it down, they don't write it down comprehensively. They just do a couple of things. But if you created a new budget at the beginning of the year, now is the perfect time to reflect on how well that budget is working. Have you made progress towards your goals? If not, consider cutting spending and building savings to help build momentum for the remaining months of the year. Now, this also is a good time to decide if your budget is really working for you. If you created a detailed budget that you're having difficult time sticking to, consider shifting it to a more realistic or flexible spending plan. Remember, there's no right way to manage your money, but takes time to look and review and just make adjustments to it and be realistic to the budget that you have.
Yeah, one of the things you have to do is check your credit report. We've always recommended going to that annualcreditreport.com, getting your one free report from one of the 3 credit reporting bureaus. That's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You get one of those free every 12 months. So you split it up, so you're getting one of those at various times throughout the year. And you got to make sure things are straight with your credit report, because we've talked about how credit reports affect your financing costs. It may have determined whether or not you get a job. It determines whether your insurance rates are good or low. And so you want to make sure things on your credit report are correct, that nobody's trying to steal money from you. And you want to make sure that it's accurate, and that if your number is low, maybe you can do some things to increase your credit report so your borrowing costs will be lower, and all those other things I mentioned. It's something that you should do, you have to do, and you don't want to find out the hard way that somebody's opened an account in your name and stolen your identity or something like that. And those are the things you can find out from having reviewed your credit report.
Now, for those people who rent or have a lease, right, this is a perfect time for you to look and to renewing when you renew your lease. It's a good time to reevaluate the lease agreement to ensure you're getting your money's worth and paying for only what you need. Now, over the past 2 years, rent prices have generally increased more than 50% nationally, 15%, 1-5. National median rental now stands at $2,029. That's the national average of the medium rental price. Now, you know, usually landlords want to keep good tenants. And so it's good news is you may not have to move to find a better deal. You can start by looking at a similar nearby rental rates to get a sense of the market and determine a price that seems fair and manageable. I mean, everything's negotiable. You know, about 2 to 3 months before your lease expires, approach your landlord maybe and ask them if they will be willing to renegotiate the rent. All they can say is no, you know, but like they say, most people, most renters, and I mean, I've had rental property, man. I try to hold on to good renters. You know, I had one renter for for 10 years, and that was very fortunate. That doesn't happen often. But offering something in return, such as signing a longer lease or paying the last month's rent upfront, may help swing things in your favor. So timing often matters when it comes to negotiating your rent. So it's best to know whether you're in a buyer's market or the landlord plans to sell the property soon also.
Okay, it's also the time to check your health benefits. And those are things that you may have an HSA account, you looking to see how much you've got in there that you might have to use at the end of the year and see where you are, whether you've had your eye exams, where you've done everything you need to do, and you're taking advantage of all the health benefits you got. And a lot of times you can't change your health benefits until the open enrollment period, but there are some situations where you can change your health plan. And that's if you move, if you get married or divorced, you get a new kid, certain other situations, if you get a low income family or you're returning from the service, or you get citizenship or permanent legal residency, you can change your health plan. But it's a good time to check your benefits, making sure you're taking advantage of everything that they offer. A lot of health insurance plans now pay for gym memberships. They give you money if you go get a physical. They give you money if you have a home service nurse come by. Make sure you're taking advantage of all the health benefits that you have. That's part of your paycheck. And by not taking advantage of everything that's there, you're basically leaving money on the table. So take advantage, review your health benefits, making sure you're taking advantage of everything that's there.
Yeah, that's good advice, though. You know, when was the last time you reviewed your 401k plan and or your individual retirement accounts? Not only does making a maximum allowable contribution using pre-tax dollars add up significantly over time, you know, if you're not taking advantage of your corporate 401 match, that's money you're leaving on the table. Now, mid-year is also a good time to look at your investment strategy. How have the market fluctuations affected your portfolio? You know, say that you had like a 60-40 mix, 60% stocks and 40% bonds. And these last few months from the beginning of the year now, that might have changed because equity stocks have done so well. It might now be 70-30%, 70% stocks, 30%. And if that's what you want, that's okay. But if you want to keep it at 60-40, you need to look at it and make that adjustment. Now, this isn't something that you have to do alone. Many companies offer assistance with retirement planning, or you can reach out to a certified financial planner to get help for you to develop or make, you know, the needed adjustments that you need to any 401k or IRA.
Okay, you got to look at your tax situation. And midpoint is a good time to do that. You don't want to end up owing a lot. And in the perfect world, you don't want to end up with a big refund either. That's not good to let Uncle Sam use your money. It used to not be a big deal when interest rates were closer to zero. But now, if you can make 5% of your money instead of having it sit in the treasury somewhere, it makes sense to put that money in your pocket instead of letting Uncle Sam take care of it for you. So take a look at your withholdings. It can be as simple as looking at your last year's tax return, see if you had a big refund or a big gain. I'm sorry, a big refund or you owed, and then make sure your withholdings reflect where you want to be at the end of the year. And that, again, that goes back to what you're comfortable with. Some people like getting that big refund. It makes no sense to me because I don't like letting people use my money, and I like to make as much money as I can on my money. Instead of getting a big refund, take that money, invest it, increase your savings plan, or increase your stock purchases, or just get it and put it in a money market account and get 5% on it instead of waiting until next February or March and getting your hands on it. Okay. And then this is also the time to think about if you had another child, and that's an extra deduction, even though it's going to cost you way more than that. Or if you start a business, all the things that could affect your taxes. If you sell a stock and have a gain, if you have a big loss, this is the time to look at it, look and see where you are. And a couple things to realize: interest rates have been high most of this year. They may not have been as high all of last year's. So if you get a bunch of interest income, your interest income is going to be higher this year than it was last year. Those are the things you need to look at and see, compared to last year, what's changed, and adjust your withholdings accordingly.
Now, I know exactly what your total debt amount is. And I mean total debt amount, not just part of it. But take stock of every debt you have. Write down the balance, interest rate, and the minimum payment for each. Finally, add all of the balances together to know exactly how much debt you have to pay off. Now, if you're having trouble finding the motivation to repay your debt, because debt costs way far more than money. Now, consider the debt snowball method. We talked about that before. With this strategy, you pay as much as you can each month towards your smallest debt while paying only the minimum due on the other debts. When the first debt is paid off, you move on to the next smallest, and so on until you work your way up until your debt is paid off. Now, if you're motivated to pay off your debt but feeling overwhelmed by interest rates and overall costs, the debt avalanche method is best. That way you could be the strategy you might want to use. It works by paying your debts with the highest interest rates first and paying only the minimum on the other debts, then moving that amount once you pay it off onto the next highest one, and so on. This method requires more discipline, but it can save you more money in the long run.
And the next thing you might want to do is revisit your personal goals. Okay, and this is a great time to do that because you have some data to compare when you look at your budget and you see if you are spending according to what your budget is. Okay, and are your goals? You should have SMART goals. We've talked about this before, and SMART stands for it has to be specific, and you clearly defining what you want your goals to be. They have to be measurable. They have to be achievable. They have to be relevant to obviously what you're trying to do. And finally, they have to have a time constraint of when you plan to accomplish those specific goals. So a lot of times things happen that may affect your goals. It could be totally out of your control. You could get a new job, you could lose your job, you could buy a house, you could relocate, you could be forced to retire early. A lot of that happens during the year, and you need to sit back and revisit your goals and make sure they still make sense for your particular situation. Again, a lot of times no one knows what's going to happen. So many things are out of your control. But when it comes to you setting your goals, they should encompass everything that you can control and exactly what you want to accomplish.
So the mid-year checkup should give you a clear idea of what actions you need to take to stay on track with your goals. So we just want to talk about a few of them to keep you moving forward for the remainder of the year. Talk about this all the time. Build or maintain an emergency fund. Put a small amount aside, so that you can have, in case some things, a couple of setbacks might happen. If you don't already, have anywhere between 3 to 6 months, and it depends on you, which is best, of your living expenses. We commit to allocating money to each month to rebuild and contribute more to emergency fund because, things happen. The boiler breaks, the garbage disposal breaks, So stashing money into a high savings account can also help your money grow faster, too, these days compared to a regular checking account or savings account. They do have some. Matter of fact, if you're a Truist, I just noticed they just giving like 4.5% for a savings account. Now, I don't know how long it lasts, but it's several other banks doing that too. It's much better than leaving it in a checking or a regular savings account paying less than 1%.
Yeah, but you can still get 1-year CDs for 5%. So
that's good.
Okay, next thing you got to do is monitor your spending, and this is tough for a lot of people, especially folks who aren't a number nerd like I am. But you should look through your bank and credit card statements and see where your money's going. You should always understand what you're spending money on. And if you have a budget and you are going over your budget or coming under your budget, look and see why, make sure you understand it and make sure it's legitimate. And if you're running over, look and see if there's expenses you can cut, if there's things that you're spending money on that you don't need to spending money on. And if you're coming under, take that money and maybe look to invest it, even if it's just in a high yield savings account, or invest it in something else that you think can make more money. And so you can probably find some things you're wasting money on if you're going over your budget every month. But take a look at your spending and try to force yourself to stay within your budget, assuming your budget's realistic. Try to stay within your budget and making sure at the end of the year, you're going to accomplish the goals that you want to accomplish.
Hey, Doug, this is one that a lot of people don't realize. Many insurance carriers offers discounts to loyal customers with safe driving records, especially if you've been with the same company and paying the same rate for many years. Just contacting your provider about potential discounts may be in your favor. And you can also pay to shop around. Compare rates against a few insurance companies. Me and my wife, we did that, and we got an insurance company out of Pennsylvania, but they also licensed in Maryland, and they actually we saved about $400 to $500, and they offering good car insurance. We got a daughter on that 20-year-old daughter, so that's high. But we went and shopped and got a much better. And this company's been around for years; they're reputable. So shop around, especially just revisit your insurance rates, and you'd be surprised you might can get a better deal.
Yeah, and I mentioned this before about your credit score, but again, make sure you understand that score. There's just too many things that affects that can lower your cost if your credit score is decent. So just make sure you understand and know what your credit score. A lot of credit cards now give you that free. So make sure you know what that is and that you're okay with where you're at, or if not, that you're making you're doing the things necessary to improve that number.
This next one, though, I actually did, and once again, it works, for cable and internet bills. If you want a lower cable bill, internet bill, try negotiating with your provider, because they getting hit because a lot of companies have these streaming packages where you don't even need cable anymore. All you just need is Wi-Fi, and the cable companies charging all those fees, local fees, state fees for how many remotes, all that kind of stuff. They are getting hit. So a quick phone call can help you uncover a special deal you didn't know about, or your provider might be willing to offer you a discount just to keep you from leaving.
And next is look at your loan options. And for example, if you've improved your credit score, maybe you can get a lower interest rate. If another one that people miss, and it came up at the beginning of the show when Modestine mentioned mortgage insurance, but that private mortgage insurance that they make you get on your mortgage,
PMI.
If you don't have 20% equity. But if your house value has risen and now you do have the 20% equity. You may look at
Good one.
trying to get that lowered.
Good one. That's a good one.
And a lot of people don't think about that. That's not a permanent bill you have to pay. You may want to look at getting a debt consolidation loan. And you look at what interest rates you're paying on all your different bills. And if you can get a debt consolidation loan that's a lower percentage, then that might be best for you. Some credit cards have balance transfers that may last for up to 12 months. I've seen them as long as 18 months. You may take advantage of that to pay down your debt, realizing you have to either have the debt paid off within that time period or have another way to get that money if you don't pay it all off, because the interest rates go up like crazy. The banks are banking on you not paying it off or not having any recourse, and then they can charge you the up to 24, 25%. But take a look at your loans, make sure you're paying as little in interest as you possibly can, and look for ways to reduce that interest cost. In addition, look at your credit cards and make sure you have a plan for reducing your spending on credit cards, whether that's leaving them at home, or I wouldn't tell you to just cancel it, because again, that will affect your credit score and your debt utilization. But get the discipline to stop spending if you are overspending, or to stop using it if you don't need to use it. Because paying interest, and we've talked about this before, that's just giving money away. That's overpaying for any product you buy and making somebody else rich and taking big money out of your pocket. So take a look at your loans, try to lower your costs, and get those loans paid off.
Though, you mentioned about credit debt consolidation.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to remind people there's a nonprofit company called the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, NFCC. The number is 800-388-2227. And you call them, and it's like I said, it's a nonprofit, and they will find a debt consolidation person in your area, wherever you live. It's called the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. 800-388-2227. I'll put it in the box in a minute. But if you're considering debt consolidation, because all debt consolidation companies aren't created equal. So, though, this is just bringing home the bottom line is you must examine your finances midway through the year. It's a good habit to get into, because mid-year financial checkups allows you to assess how well you're progressing towards your annual goals and make adjustments on the way, like retooling your budget, cash flow, spending, living expenses, health benefits. These checkups combined with everyday financial health practices can help you keep your personal finances on track, no matter what life may throw at you or no matter what way it may come to you. This is just a perfect way to make sure that you stay on top of your financial plan that me and Dote always talk about. So this is the mid-year, 6-month checkup, financial checkup. Dote, we talked about a lot. Let's take it to the summary and takeaways.
Okay, I'll get it going first, Bob.
Please do.
And the first one is things change. You have to adjust, review and adjust. And you see where you are, you make sure you're on the right path. If something's happened to change what you plan to happen, you got to make the necessary adjustments. And so unless you adjust to things that change, you won't end up where you expect to be at the end of the year.
Next one is safeguard your wealth. Check the credit reports like we talked about, annualcreditreport.com. Be careful. There's one that's free annual credit report. No, that is not free. The one that you get one from each of the 3 credit bureaus every year. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. Check your passwords. Make sure you have some strong passwords. Make sure you have those listed somewhere in a safe place in case something happens to you. Also, Beware of identity theft. It's so big out there now. They got the one now where a person will text you like, "Hi," or "Hey, Sylvia, what time we going to eat?" And you respond back, "You got the wrong number." And they'll come back and try to be kind and start a conversation. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't know it was you, but thank you." And they'll try to soft talk you. They work on older people, but they work on all people. So safeguard your wealth is so important, y'all. And make sure you look and update your estate plan. That's safeguarding your wealth, making sure you have an estate plan so that you can protect your wealth and decide who it's going to go to. And then if you are incapacitated and you're still living, that you know that you can have somebody to know and that you can trust and know that they're going to take care of your finances. So safeguard your wealth.
Okay, and this mid-year checkup, this is a step in the process. I mean, the overall process of building wealth encompasses coming up with your goals, creating a budget, understanding your risk tolerance, deciding how you want to invest, where you want to invest, and what you want to invest. But this is a step that is necessary in that you have to review to make sure you're accomplishing what you want to accomplish. And so it's an important step, because if things have changed, you need to make the necessary adjustments. So this is something that you have to do, and you need to get that discipline of looking over things and making sure you're on your right path.
And lastly, but not least, take action. Take action. Knowledge, they say knowledge is power, but knowledge is information. Action is power. So if you do all these things, you got to make sure you take action and go out there and make sure you apply the adjustments. You go out there and change the passwords on your accounts that were maybe weak. You go out there and make sure you have the right asset allocation in your portfolio mix, because the market has changed. All these things take action. And if you do that, you'll be okay, because lack of action is what get most people in trouble, right? And why would you go through all these things if you don't put them in play? So that's the last thing we just want to make sure y'all know.
And Bob, and I'm blessed and fortunate in that I enjoy doing those things on the list.
Right.
I get enjoyment out of that. But I think back to what we mentioned last week about the Lamborghini and why they don't do commercials. And it says because people who own Lamborghinis aren't spending their time watching TV.
Right.
So maybe give up an hour or two of a TV show and put that time into building wealth, or looking for ways to do the things in the checklist, to making sure you got your budget written out, to reviewing your budget. And I'm not saying become totally engrossed and that's all you do, but if you plan on building wealth, it's going to take some time that you have to invest, and it's going to take discipline to make sure you stick to what you want to do. And again, something crazy could happen and blow all that out of the water. But if you don't do those things, the chances of you building wealth are not very high.
So I want to thank everybody. This was our 153rd show, going into next week, 154, dope. Wow. So remember, you all, make sure you put some comments in the box for any topics you like for us to cover, because there's so much that we don't know, and there's so much that we do know, but we just make sure we need to take action on the information that we do know. And, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but just make sure who you asking from. And my quote from the day is, if you just do the right thing, you will never have to worry about being wrong. So with that, have a great evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll see you next week. Same back channel. And make sure y'all share this information with other people on Facebook Live, and go out on YouTube and subscribe. We want more people to get this good information. As always, we got to do roll call Modestine out there in Lexington, South Carolina. I hope you're enjoying it down there, and I'm sure it's hotter down there than it is up here. My wonderful sister Gloria and Linda on. As always, thank you, lovely people. Linda said, good evening. Want to say what's up to Garnett, Rodney L. Madison, the noteexperience.com. Make sure y'all go out there and check his site out because he's got some good information for investment alternatives that makes sense and seem pretty secure. Now, Dodie, what's up now? As always, thank you so much for being on now. And hey, what's up? Oh, we got my man James Alexander. What's up, James? Glad you're still hanging in there.
What's up, Jimmy?
What's up, Jimmy? Yeah. Well, look, you all, make sure, please, you all, share this with as many people as you can because we want our people. We want to raise all boats. You know what I'm saying? And one thing that would help the social justice is social economic equity. So look, have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Peace.